Should the court appoint an independent Part 36 guardian, even though there are family members willing to serve as the guardian? To find out, you have to read Matter of Corrine versus Stephen S., but it's 11 pages. Don't have time for that? I've got you covered. This is TLDR, Too Long Didn't Read, where normally I cover New York Court of Appeals cases, and I try to do it in 5 minutes or less. But this is part of a special limited series I'm doing on cases relevant to the elder law and estate planning community. This is the case of Corinne versus Stephen S. This is published by the Nassau County Supreme Court on December 31st of 2023. The citation for this case is 2023, New York Slip Opinion 51443. I'll attach the decision to the description of this video. The issue in this case is the question is, when should an independent Part 36 guardian be appointed when there are available family members who want to be the guardian? This is a case that examines that issue. The background, I think, is helpful to understand this case. The context is that a person can propose to be a guardian. A petitioner can say, I think this person needs a guardian and I want to be it. Anyone who presents themselves that's over 18, that cares for the AIP can do that. The alleged incapacitated person can do that. The AIP, the alleged incapacitated person, has a great deal of say over who becomes the eventual guardian if it's determined that the person needs a guardian. MHL, Mental Hygiene Law 8117 says that the AIP is allowed to nominate a person and the court shall appoint that person unless they're found to be unfit. So the last piece that I think is important to know is that there's a general preference. There's a general rule that the court prefers to appoint a family member as the guardian, but it's always within the court's discretion to deviate from that if the circumstances indicate that the family member is not suitable, or there's a dispute or bad blood or dissension between the family members. Because if one family member becomes the guardian and then can exclude other family members from visiting or interacting with the AIP, that's not good either. So what are the facts in this case? The facts are, it's a very interesting set of facts. The subject is named Stephen S. He's 79 years old. He had a stroke, but before he had a stroke and during his productive part of his career of his life, he was a very successful real estate mogul, we'll say. He had a hotel. He had property in China. He accrued millions and millions of dollars of assets during his life. And he was a very interesting character. He had 3 different wives over the course of his life. He also had a long-term affair with the cousin of a wife in China. He had 4 children from his 3 different wives. He built a very complicated family dynamic where there was a lot of conflict. According to him, there's a lot of jealousy in his family circle, which was quite large. And then he suffered the stroke, which left him particularly vulnerable to abuse by members of his family, theoretically, but also by a former business associate who allegedly stole or exploited him out of a lot of money from his businesses. So ultimately, an application is made for a guardianship in Nassau County. And at the guardianship hearing, 3 different people present themselves, file petitions for the guardianship. 2 of his daughters, named Corinne and Shelley, and the last person is Grace. And they each have different things to say. Corinne presents herself as a potential guardian, and she's the daughter. She's a 33-year-old, it sounds like a socialite from Los Angeles with 2 children and doesn't work, but earns $30,000 a month from a trust. And she admits on the stand when she testifies that she won't necessarily follow the court's directions or she won't follow the doctor's orders. She thinks that her dad really needs red light therapy to solve all of his cognitive deficits. She said she would move to New York and she would assemble a team of house staff to help wait on her dad. And that's Corinne. Grace says Grace is the 3rd spouse, the 3rd wife of Stephen, and they've been married from 2001 to the present, although they've been separated since 2008. So a long time now. And they have an anti-nuptial agreement where if they get separated, which is never defined, they will split the property that they have in half. So there's a conflict of interest here, a financial conflict of interest between this person, Grace, and Stephen. And she says she would move to New York if she became guardian, but not otherwise. And there's a dispute there. And finally, there's Shelley. who's another daughter, and she says, I don't think it should be any of us. It should be an independent guardian. Ultimately, also, the AIP, through his attorney, says, I don't want any of my family to be the guardian. And he also makes a video will. He says, I don't want my family to be my guardian. I want an independent person. Ultimately, the decision here is based upon all the above, based upon all the things we talked about. Corinne and Grace and Shelley, who is not presenting herself as a potential resource, but none of these people are suitable, and it really should be an independent guardian. So that's what Judge Noble goes with, an independent Part 36 guardian. And he reiterates, and the point of this case is that while there's a presumption that the family should be selected, it's just a presumption. The court has discretion to go outside of that family structure if appropriate, and here that presumption was overcome. That's the case of Matter of Corrine versus Stephen S. If you like what you just saw and want to see more just like it, please hit like or subscribe to let me know.